We are live from Last Out Media Studios in Feasterville/Trevose. Welcome to Combat Misfits. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning into this podcast brought to you by Last Out Media Studios, brought to you by Liquid Death Water.
Yeah.
So good, water. I am with my co-host, the one and only Chris Thudick.
What's going on, guys? Man, it feels good to be back, and it's a pretty gloomy day on a fucking Wednesday.
Yes, it's been a chaotic day, but we are here and we are live and we are ready to talk sports with you. We have calling into the show today, Johan Jr. and Johan Sr. from Johan Promotions. And we're looking forward to that. I'm looking very forward to that.
Pretty excited. We'll give a little insight, man. Senior, he's been to the Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali fight personally. He was there live and watching it firsthand, like just to get a like an idea to talk to him about being there live and like how was the atmosphere? Like, did you know sitting in those seats that you're going to see something amazing? Something that's going to be so iconic that's going to be remembered for generations on top of generations. Like how amazing opportunity that must have been to be there.
I'm so excited because he's done a lot of good building boxing gyms for the underprivileged children, and I would love to get his insight on how it started to now how successful it has become.
Yeah.
I'm super
because it's kind of interesting that he goes to the bars and says, hey, you guys got to pay me to watch the fights on television.
Yeah. And so let's do this, guys, because what happened is I've got Joe on the phone. So nice. Senior is not available at the moment. So I just want to give you guys a heads up, but we do have Johan Jr. So I'm going to put him on the line and let me just plug him in right now.
Sounds good. I'm just as excited for Johan Jr.
Yeah, man. It's awesome.
So
all right. And Joe, can you hear us?
I hear you great.
Awesome. Oh, Joe, what's going on, man? How are you doing today, sir?
Guys, how are you?
We're doing good. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, calling into the show. I'm looking forward to hearing your insight on, how your organization has grown and where it's, where it started and everything.
Well, I appreciate that. And thanks for having me back on the show. And yeah, I'm always excited to talk about the business and Johan Promotions. And what's today's date? Today is the 6th. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yes, that's correct.
So we're 15 days away from our 50th anniversary.
Awesome, man. Congratulations.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really, really, proud of the company and proud of our family and especially my dad. My mom and my aunt, who are really the ones that started this company, 50 years ago. And, I don't think they ever in their wildest dreams would have envisioned what, we are today as being the future of Johan Promotions. So kudos to them and, in their vision and really paving the path for, the company to be successful.
That's very awesome. So I'd like to ask some questions for you, if possible. I'll get started by saying, please describe to us and the people watching and listening at home, what is Johan Promotions and what role does it play in the sport of boxing?
So Johan Promotions' role in the sport of boxing and basically combat sports is that we are the company that acts as the sales agent for the promoter who's doing the fight and the bar owner that shows the fight in his bar. So if you and I were at my house and we wanted to watch the fight Saturday night with Wilder and Fury, I'd order it up on my cable with Comcast, and at the end of the month, I'd get my $70 bill, and that's what you would call a residential customer. But if you're a customer of the fight or fan of the fight, you want to go out and watch it at a bar or a restaurant, the bar and restaurant is a customer of Johan Promotions. We're the ones that sell the fight to bars and restaurants. We provide all the promotional material that they need for their social media platforms, the posters, anything that they need is help in promoting the fight. We do all the commercial locations. So we're considered a non-residential seller of the boxing and MMA. And, man, we do so much more than that now. But that's what our role is in all of that.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's super interesting. I did not know all that. I'm not sure.
Right. A lot of people just, kind of go into a bar like Chicky and Pete's or, a Buffalo Wild Wings or, Dave and Buster's. And, they don't really think about how the signal to the fight gets there. All they really do is they think about, hey, I'm going to go there and watch the fight. And it's like turning on the Eagles game, like it's on for free, but it's not. And those bar owners are, what I call basically mini promoters. They're the guys that, pay us to put the fight on in their bar. And if they pay like, $1,000 to show it in their bar, that's what they chose that night to bring people in to, to buy food and drink and spend money at the restaurant instead of, maybe a band or, a comedian or whatever they might bring in as entertainment. That night they've chose to bring in a boxing event. And so, that just a lot of people don't understand that there's a company like ours out there, and that's the role that we play. The good thing for that as a business owner is I've got very little competition. It just works out that, we are, in the marketplace for 50 years. I think we've built a good reputation in the marketplace, not only with the bar owners, but, with the promoters that depend on us to bring, a lot of money in for them. On Saturday night, the Wilder Fury fight is going to be shown in probably 3,500 bars, casinos, racetracks, sports books, public viewing locations are where people can go watch it. And if anybody's out there and they want to know, like, hey, I'm going to be traveling out of town this weekend, I'm going to be, Phoenix, Arizona, they can go to my website, johanpromotions.com, and up on the top bar, you see it's called a bar finder. And you just type in there the city and state that you're in, and in a 25-mile radius, it'll give you all the bars, around Phoenix, if that's where you're typing in, that are showing the event and where you can go and watch it.
Yep.
Wow, that's real. So that's really widespread. Like it's really widespread how much you reach, how much your company reaches,
Oh my gosh, yeah. We're not only, a company now that is, been doing business from coast to coast. People say you just sell in the Philadelphia area. God, no. I mean, we sell all over the country, but with streaming becoming more and more a part of the landscape for us, I mean, we're starting to sell bars in Australia, the UK, New Zealand, Canada. We are really becoming a global company. And, I always tell people that, what kind of role does Johan Promotions, play in the sport of boxing? Well, honestly, I kind of think of my dad as kind of a pioneer, because 50 years ago, when you wanted to go watch a fight, you guys are way too young to remember this. You had to buy a ticket, and then you would go to like Wells Fargo Center, where the Sixers and Flyers and play, and we would put up 2 movie screens, one at each end, turn out the lights, and then show the fight on a gigantic movie theater screen in there, and that's where people went out and watched the fights on what they called closed circuit TV.
Jeez.
And then the technology changed into pay-per-view. The cable system started to be able to, offer these events on their cable systems, and you could buy it and stay at your home. But what really happened was my dad, started the first kind of pay-per-view, thinking, so to speak, of boxing and people going out and paying to watch a fight. And that's how they did it. So, I really believe my dad has been an unbelievable ambassador for the sport of boxing. You can only imagine how many millions and millions of fans have seen the event, in their neighborhood at a bar or something, because my dad and Johan Promotions sold it to that bar and restaurant.
Yeah.
That's extremely that's extremely successful and inspiring. Because if I do believe, let me ask you this question. So what inspired you to follow in your father's footsteps in the world of boxing, despite being selected by the 76ers in the 1980 NBA draft? I don't.
Oh my God.
So let's take it back.
Okay, so let's talk about the Sixers thing for just a second.
Yes, sir.
I was the next to last guy drafted, which would have meant that if I would have waited one more pick, I would have been what they call Mr. Irrelevant. And and I understand they bring you out to like California and they have a parade for you, and they make a fuss over the last guy picked like they do the first guy. So, but anyhow, the Sixers thing was a lot of fun, and I enjoy it. It's always nice to tell people that, at least I went to rookie camp for 3 days and I didn't embarrass myself and I had a good time. But sticking with Johan Promotions, I didn't want to work at the company at first. To be really truthful, when I was growing up, I knew there was a business there. My dad was not only running Johan Promotions, but he was managing Joe Frazier's heavyweight career through a company called Cloverlay, and he was working as a cop as a full-time job. My dad worked 3 jobs when, I was younger. At that time, you're just young, dumb, and stupid, and you just don't understand, what kind of opportunities are out there. And what happened was I got out of school in 1980 and went to Sixers camp, and I got engaged to get married, and I had no money. I didn't know how the hell we were going to, pay our bills. I figured I'd get a job somewhere. It wasn't going to be a big deal. And my dad was not well at the time. He had been sick. He had had a heart attack. And the first Sugar Ray Leonard Roberto Duran fight was signed, and they offered it to my dad to be the distributor, like in some states here on the East Coast. So my dad said to me, "Look, I know you don't have a job. I really can't do all this work, but I can coach you and I can tell you what to do. So why don't you do this fight with me and be my partner?" So I said, I needed money. I was like, okay, that sounds good. And the fight's over, and the fight is like just unbelievably successful. And it just, guys, I'm just, 21 years old or something like that. And I knew we had a good night. And so a week after the fight, my dad comes to my desk and he goes, "Look," he goes, "here, I have this for you." And I open it up and it's a check. And man, it's for a lot of money. Right. And I'm like, what's this for? And he said, "It's yours." I go, "I know it's got my name on it, but why are you giving it to me?" He said, "I told you you were my partner." I was like, "You got to be kidding me." So he said, "They're going to do a rematch. Do you want to do a rematch?" And I said, "I'm going to do one more fight, but I'm not going to stay I'm not going to stay around forever. I really think I can go overseas and play basketball and travel the world and everything like that. So I'll do one more fight. Can I make the same kind of money that we did? If you work hard." So we did the fight, and I made a lot of money on the second fight, and another fight came up and another fight. And so every once in a while, I just tell my dad, I'm not really a full-time employee. I only work here part-time. It just so happens to be for 42 years.
Wow. And I like how you said you've been with your dad for so many years. And here's another question that says, Johan Promotions is truly a family-based company. What is it like starting your career working aside your dad and your sister?
Well, first of all, having a family business, it's an incredibly fortunate situation. Like I mentioned earlier in the conversation, I think in those early years, the company had been around for 10 years or something. And, my dad and my mom, they put every penny they owned some nights up for the rights to buy fights. And I told my dad just recently, I said, Dad, it's really funny. If the roles were reversed and I was you and you were me, this company wouldn't be here. Because honestly, God, I don't have the balls that he had. I just wouldn't have never have taken the risk that he did. But he did, And then what it really did was, it gave myself, my sister, I got my aunt working there. I got a couple of cousins working there. My nieces and nephews are work. We got a lot of people from our family that have really benefited from, the success of Johan Promotions. And it really does go back to, those early years when the foundation for the company was set. I'm a big Villanova basketball fan. I love Jay Wright, and I love the saying that he has when you walk in that pavilion out there, and it says, "We're here today because of those before us," and that is really true about our company.
That speaks volumes, man.
It
Sure does.
Because like everybody wants to have a family business, but there's always like something going on. But to see you guys have such success in 50 years is just inspiring, honestly.
Yeah, I really do feel like we're very fortunate. We've had a lot of great leadership from my dad. My dad is 85 years old.
God bless.
He comes to work every day. And when you think back, some people go, well, how come he's not fishing or golfing or, doesn't have a hobby? He didn't have a hobby because he never had time for a hobby when he was younger. He was working all these jobs and, just trying to, he was an $8,000 a year police officer when he first started. And when he got offered the job to work at Cloverlay, they were going to pay him $100 a month to work there. And he called my mom and said, I got our car payment covered. I just got offered a job to work at this company. He said he was crying on the phone because he was going to be able to pay his car payment.
Wow. That's super interesting.
Yep.
It truly shows that hard work pays off, and if you really want something, you can go out and you can get it, and that's very inspiring, man. It really is.
So my next question is, who is your favorite fighter right now in boxing? Like, who's your number one guy? Like, you have to like call out anybody you want to say, right? Who's your number one guy?
Well, because of Joe Frazier and what Joe Frazier did for, my dad and our family and got us as a family involved in the boxing business, Joe Frazier will always be my number one favorite fighter. My second favorite fighter is a guy, Sugar Ray Leonard. Now, I know he's not fighting anymore, but I cannot tell you how nice of a man Sugar Ray Leonard is. First of all, he was an unbelievably great fighter, one of the greatest of all times. But I always tell this story about him. In the old days, they used to have the fights at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. And what that meant was the fighters were allowed to go and train in the Pocono Mountains at these Caesar honeymoon properties. And they were like, places where couples get married and that's where they go for their honeymoon, right? These lovey-dovey honeymoon spots. But it was up in the Pocono Mountains, and it was great because they could set up a training camp there for the fighter. He was secluded, but it was close enough at that time where the press could get from New York, Philly, Washington, and Boston, and that meant a lot. So they would have a press conference up there, or they called it a media day. So when we would go in these media days, oftentimes my dad would take some kids from the Shriners Hospital up on the Roosevelt Boulevard. And those kids are very, challenged. They're in wheelchairs a lot and things like that. So we called ahead and we told the Sugar Ray Leonard, we're coming up on media day and we're going to bring some kids from Shriners Hospital. And they were like, great, Ray will be there. Everything's good. I get a phone call the week of, and they're like, hey, I want to tell you, Ray doesn't want you to bring the kids up on media day. And I'm like, oh, come on. These kids, now I'm going to break their hearts. They really were looking forward to it. He says, no. He goes, I don't want them on media day. Ray wants them to come up the day before because there won't be any media here, and he will be able to spend like the whole day with them.
That's awesome.
So I was like, holy smokes, that's great. So we get there. The day that we get there, Ray Leonard's waiting for us, like at the road. He gets on the bus and he's talking to the kids. and the kids are out of their mind. They're having a great time. We go inside. He brings them in the ring, and he's messing around with them. And I'm there, and a guy comes over from Ray Leonard's camp, and he says, Ray, there's a guy here from like the Pittsburgh newspaper. He can't come tomorrow, so he wants to interview you. And he says, I told you I don't want to interview anybody today. He goes, like, the guy drove all the way from Pittsburgh. What do you want to do? He says, you know what? All right, put him over there. I'll go and see him, and I'll be over in a couple minutes. A couple minutes later, Ray goes over, and he goes, Joe, here, push over Tony in the wheelchair with me. I go, okay. So we push it over, and the guy sits down. How you doing? The newspaper guy to Ray Leonard. Yeah, it's this unbelievable opportunity. I'm getting the interview. Like, you're like a movie star. You're like an American hero. And he looks at me and goes, you really think so? And the guy goes, yeah, like, you're just like one of the greatest boxers of all time. He goes, let me explain something to you. He goes, I don't remember the last time I went to a restaurant and paid for a meal. I don't remember the last time I ever went to a hotel and paid for, a room, or went to a show and ever bought a ticket. He goes, you know how easy my life is? He said, but see my friend Tony here? Every day he's got to get up. Somebody's got to help him get bathed, brush his hair, brush his teeth, and look at him. He's got a great smile on his face. Don't you think he's more of an American hero than I am? And I'm like crying now. Tony, the kid in the chair, is smiling. Ray's hugging him. I just thought to myself, I just would never forget that moment.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is awesome. Yeah, it's truly inspiring. Like, everything you're saying right now is truly inspiring, because, like, the path that you guys have taken, to become so successful is mind blowing. Like, so I would like to switch back and ask a serious question. So, what has the younger generation of your family brought to the table to make it more, like, your company more successful?
They're way smarter, and they're way, way better at technology. It's a slam dunk. There's nothing that I can tell you. What I can pass to the new generation that's coming in is the experience and my relationships. If they want to talk to Sugar Ray Leonard, I feel like I could pick up the phone and call Sugar Ray Leonard, and if he wanted to talk to one of the young kids, wanted to talk to him about something, they would talk to him. But when I'm in that office and those kids are showing me all the stuff that they're doing with streaming and social media, and just I'm blown away by how smart they are, and just how much enthusiasm and energy that they bring to the company.
Wow.
So I have a question here. What was it like distributing the pay-per-view with Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather? Was that an easy sell point for all the bars?
It was the biggest fight that we've ever done in our history. There's fights that, like, when we do the fight this weekend, I can't give you the exact numbers, but just the numbers will be like pretty good, but it'll be a couple $1 million in sales, and everybody's going to be really happy. That's like a great night. The McGregor and Mayweather fight did almost $25 million in sales to the bars. It was like 5 times bigger than the biggest one we ever did. It was unbelievable. They were putting it in stadiums. They were putting it in arenas. They were anywhere that they could. They were putting in airplane hangars. It was just unbelievable, the places and the money that people were willing to spend. Racetracks down in the Carolinas where they run the NASCAR. All the movie theaters. It was out of control. It was out of control. And it was just the biggest fight in our company's history, and nothing's even come close to it.
Oh, so that was the biggest fight that you've ever had being a distributor of.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's
Are you hoping for another fight like that to come up? Like, and if you think that another fight like that will come up, what do you think the combo would have to be? Like, which fighters would have to be that magnitude to have that kind of?
I want one of those every month.
Yes.
What do I think it'll have to be?
Yeah.
I think it's going to have to be some new young superstar fighter that's probably a teenager now and doesn't even know he likes the sport, but somebody's going to get him in the gym, and before you know it, it's going to become the next Mike Tyson or somebody like that. It'll happen. If I live long enough, great. I might not live long enough to see it, but the business goes through cycles like that. There were periods where it was Roberto Duran, Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard. That was big. Then they had the Mike Tyson era with Tyson and all the guys in the Vander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, and all those guys. Then you had another era with really De La Hoya and Mayweather and those guys. And you want to know what? Kind of right now, there's not really a superstar that's kind of dominating, the sport, and also like the world of just news. But I'm going to tell you that I think that Tyson Fury has a really good chance of being that guy. If he goes out this weekend and stops Deontay Wilder like he did in the last fight and dominated him, and still continues to, after the last fight, I don't know if you guys watched the fight.
Of course.
He stayed in the ring and sang the song American Pie.
Yeah, I sure did.
Yes,
Did you see that?
Yeah,
I sure did.
He sure
The
did.
whole arena, I was there. The whole arena stayed. Nobody left.
No.
I never saw anything like it in my entire life.
Like the thing I did.
And so,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
so what I guess what I'm saying is that, it's just the fighters that are the ones that cross over to be those mega stars aren't just good fighters. They have some kind of charisma or something outside the ring in addition to that makes people, want to see them at an NBA game, or, want to just see them, hanging out with some really hot looking girl, or, whatever it is, people care. Right now, there's not a lot of fighters like that.
I think the thing is, I think I like Tyson Fury as well. Like I think he's growing on me every day he goes by. When Deontay Wilder got asked a question, he says, "Oh, how are you gonna beat Tyson Fury?" He went to his long explanation on how he's gonna beat Fury. Fury says to Wilder, "I'm gonna punch you in your face, you prick." Like, I think that's hilarious. Like, I love Fury. I like the way he talks. I like the way he moves. Like, I think he's a big fighter, but he moves like a middleweight, not a heavyweight.
Yes.
He's very like, his footwork is great. His jab is phenomenal. I think that's something that Wilder's not ready for, is how tall he is and the way he moves and the way he moves his feet. I don't think Wilder's ready for him. I really think Tyson Fury is going to take it, and I think my co-host Dave, he thinks Fury's going to take it. And what's your opinion? Like, do you think Fury's going to take it, or do you think Wilder might give him a run?
I think that Wilder in this fight might stand up a little bit longer than the last fight, and maybe make it a little bit more competitive early. But I think that Tyson Fury will use his boxing skills. And look, you can't say that the guy doesn't have a great chin after getting knocked down like he did in that fight, in the first fight, and he got up. I mean, that's a punch that Deontay Wilder can hit 100 fighters with, and 99 of them go out. But not Tyson Fury. And I just think that Tyson Fury just feels like he's got his number right now.
I do too.
I always said that when Holyfield and Tyson fought. When they went into that ring, when Tyson would go in the ring with fighters, the fighters lost the fight in the locker room that were fighting him. They were scared to death. They shit their pants. There were fights when I know that the fighters didn't want to come out and fight him, and they finally got him out. But anyhow, what ended up happening was Holyfield had fought Tyson in the amateurs, and there wasn't any like, he wasn't intimidated by him,
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he always fought him, and Tyson didn't scare him. He just was a big bully to Holyfield, and that's why those fights were what they were.
So you were talking about a few moments ago, you were talking about boxing needs this new big star, right? And we're very unsure of who this boxing star could be. I would like to get your thoughts on this whole Jake Paul side. What do you think? This is a real or a spectacle?
I I think you need to take it for what it's worth, and this is what I've told people how I feel about it. I don't feel as though it should be looked at in the same category as Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. What it is it's a form of entertainment that includes boxing, and Jake Paul will probably never, ever get the light of day to fight for a world title. But will his fans want to see him fight Nate Robinson and, the next celebrity guy? Yes. And so don't try to, say, is this a, is it, a slap in the face to boxing? Don't look at it that way. Yeah. Look at it as entertainment.
Yep.
It is. It's entertainment. I have two sons. My youngest son was living at home with me at the time when Jake Paul was fighting Nate Robinson. So when the fights happen, I usually stay at the office, and when I'm at the office, I'll stay there and watch the fight, and then I'll get home. So sometimes it's, I don't know, 1:30 in the morning. When I get home, my wife leaves the light on. I tiptoe in the house. I get in bed. And I go to sleep. I come home that night after the fight, and I get there, and there's 4 cars like in front of my house, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And the lights are all on and everything. I open the garage door. I walk into my kitchen. Mr. Hand, Jesus, we were waiting for you to come home. And it's my son and his 4 buddies. And they can't wait to talk about how Jake Paul knocked, Nate Robinson out and he fell on his face. And, oh, my God, do you think he's going to fight next month? When's he going to fight again? And, we can't wait to watch him. And I'm like, wow, I can tell you guys this. Saturday night when I go home to my house, the light's going to be on. My wife's going to be in bed, and there's not going to be anybody like my son's age, in his early 30s, waiting for me to talk about Wilder and Fury. It's just the way it is. So don't. I'm the guy that I got to take a look at everything. We do UFC, we do boxing, I do AEW wrestling, WWE, PGA golf. We do everything. This is just a form of entertainment. And this Jake Paul kid is getting his more than 20 minutes of fame. He's capitalizing on the social media, all the followers, all the shtick of calling the guy out. He doesn't think he's ever going to fight for a world championship one day. He might tell you he is. But in the meantime, his bank account's getting big, man.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing is when we're on that topic of Jake Paul and the Furies, Tommy Fury wants to fight Jake Paul and Jake Paul wants to fight Tommy Fury. That was just released today. So what's your take on Tommy Fury? Do you think he's a legit boxer or do you think he's on the mix of the Jake Paul level?
I haven't seen Tommy Fury fight. I'm sorry. So I really can't tell you. I haven't seen him fight yet. I heard about him, but I just haven't had the opportunity to watch one of his fights yet.
Okay, yeah, because he was on the that Jake Paul extravaganza fight card where he fought, and then them two meet up, and then later today they asked if they want to fight each other. So, that's
listen, I don't have to know whether Tommy Fury can fight. All I have to know is do we think that people will watch it? Yeah, and I think people will watch Tommy Fury and Jake Paul. That's what I'm going to say.
That's where I'm going because it's bringing the younger generation into boxing. So at the end of the day, it's success. It's bringing more eyes to the sport of boxing. So I think yes, it is absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. It is a form of entertainment, and hey, at the end of the day, it's drawing more eyes. So that's right. It's nothing but positivity. I believe that. Yeah,
it's another form of another form of entertainment. Listen, somebody could say that they want to go watch, I don't know, think of some Coldplay at a concert, and they're an A+, entertainer, and their music is awesome, and they got stadium tours all over the place. In the meantime, there might be a band called the Buster Brown, Banjos, and I might think they're really good, and I want to watch them too. So it's entertainment. If you get entertained, it's at the end of the night, that's a good thing.
So I have a question. Have you ever seen the Mike Tyson fights live?
Yes.
How was the atmosphere there when you're sitting there watching him walk down to the arena and that just being there? How was that feeling?
I got to tell you, there's not a feeling in the world where, you know, when a heavyweight championship fight is getting ready to start. And recently, when I went to the second Wilder Fury fight, they introduced three boxers before the fight started. And they introduced Evander Holyfield, nice round of applause. Lennox Lewis, nice round of applause. And then they introduced Mike Tyson. The place went bananas.
Jeez.
They went crazy. Standing ovation. I was stunned. I could tell Tyson was stunned too. But I think people kind of learned to appreciate him now that his career's a lot like George Foreman's was. He had like a second chapter. In the beginning, Foreman was the big bad guy. Nobody liked him, and he really wasn't nice to people and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then when he came back and won the title, he was like the friendly guy. He was like the big polar bear, and everybody liked him. And Tyson now is the same thing. All these movie things that he does and the Broadway show that he did, he got out there in the public, and people, I think they got attracted to him. So again, remember what I said, 15 minutes ago? You got to have a fighter that's a good fighter, but they got to appeal outside, to the public to have it really be, a big superstar.
Right.
It's very true, because even Mike Tyson is still currently fighting, and he still looks like just as good, in my opinion. I would like to get your opinion as well. Like, how do you think he looks? That
I think he's still got it. You see his training videos, he looks like he's still got it. He got something left.
What do you?
I don't think so. That's just my opinion. I think I wouldn't want to get hit by him. I'll say that, and I would love to look like he looks, but let me tell you something. When after he fought Roy Jones Jr., he said it himself. He said, "Thank God these rounds were only 2-minute rounds and not 3 minutes, because I'm gassed."
But do you think
he was
being
really
modest?
tired.
You think he's just being modest saying that? You don't think so?
Oh,
No, I think he's being honest.
wow.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What did you think when Evander Holyfield fought? When he was just
Yeah.
You think he shouldn't have stepped in there?
Yeah, I think he should have passed. Guys at that age, they really do have to put the training in, and Evander probably stays in pretty good shape just generally, but he wasn't ready to fight, and he should not have fought that night, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No.
What's he, 68 years old, right?
No, he's not that old.
50,
No, they're probably around
50.
Yeah, he's not probably in his early 50s. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure he's like 55, 54, I believe.
Yeah.
So, what, in your opinion, what is the greatest fight that have you ever seen?
I still think the first Ali Frazier fight was the greatest fight I ever watched. I tell people all the time that when I watch that fight and you watch how Joe Frazier fought that night, you should, if I was a coach of a college basketball or football team or some kind of coach, and we had a big game coming up, I would say to my players, listen, I want you to sit in this room and I want you to watch this fight. And when it's over, I want you tomorrow to play like Joe Frazier fought in that fight that night. Joe Frazier was not going to be denied that night. He was not going to lose that fight. It's almost on the verge of uncomfortable to watch him fight the way he fought that night. He took punch after punch just to land a big left hook, and he just was not going to be denied. So I've seen some good fights and great fights, but there's nothing that can hold anything to that first Ali Frazier fight.
Man, just when I watch it, well, I'm too young to watch that live,
Yeah.
but I know my dad, he told me about it a couple of times, and I watched the classics and everything, and I'm just like, my good 15 rounds just balling. It was crazy, man.
Yeah.
It was a crazy fight. It was very entertaining to watch, and you don't see that type of fights anymore. And I understand all the rules and punishment that those two men took, but man, if you could just watch it live one time, this must be an amazing time to watch it, honestly.
Yep. Great fight.
So I want to get into a little bit. I want to ask about the Johan Boxing Gym and the computer lab and what success that has had on the youth. If you could give us.
Sure, I'd be happy to talk about it. So The gym is a really personal thing for the Hand family. It's a nonprofit organization. We started about 25 years ago. It was the idea and brainchild of my dad, knowing that we could offer and provide a safe haven and a community youth center for kids, in the city of Philadelphia, that they could come in. And it was always a good day when a kid came in with a book bag on one shoulder and a duffel bag on the other, that he was going to work out in. And that's what we wanted to provide. It was a little bit of my dad's, past experience as a police officer and what those community kind of facilities meant, merging with, the sport of boxing. And so it's been great. We've had a lot of luck over the years, running the program. We've now relocated up to Feasterville, Pennsylvania. We moved our new corporate offices there, and the gym is located inside our corporate offices now, right there in Feasterville.
That's awesome. I drive by there every day. It's great what you guys have done for for special needs children, and I applaud it. I truly applaud
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
Did you see the Ali and Fraser statue in the window?
Yes.
Sure did.
Everybody
It's
that's
awesome.
everybody
Sure did.
that's on Street Road in Feasterville, please look at that gym. It is what you guys have done with that is beautiful. You guys.
Thank you.
You have built that beautifully. So
Thank
we're getting to the end of the show, and so I would just like to ask you, please give us some advice. What advice do you have for a couple of guys like us starting in the podcast industry, and how do we get our names out there more successfully?
Well, I'll give you this advice because I think it's advice that my dad gave me, and it worked for me in getting involved in our business. A lot of the young guys that come into my company now, when they come in, they don't really want to work at the lower level. They want to kind of come in and be a manager right away. And all I would say to people is that whatever the career is that you choose, when you start out in those lower levels, and you're just, your podcast isn't as popular as you want it, and you maybe not get all the A grade guests that you really want, don't give up. Just pay your dues. Keep doing the hard work. Keep asking the hard questions. Keep doing the podcast when you think that, maybe it's not working out, because you aren't going to get involved in things in life where a lot of people are going to say to you, hey, I promise you, when you start Joe Hand Promotions, that in 50 years from now, your company's going to be the largest closed circuit pay-per-view distributor in the world. Who could say that to you? What it took was just a lot of hard work from our family, and a lot of confidence in that, what, today was a great day, and I'm going to come back and put another great day in tomorrow, and I'm going to worry about where that takes me the day after that. So don't worry about it. You keep doing hard work. You guys keep, asking the tough questions, and, getting the right guest on, and you'll find the right sponsors. They'll find you. So that would be my advice.
Man, I appreciate that, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. We both really appreciate it, man.
My pleasure.
You and your father are fantastic gentlemen, and we hope to talk to you again soon, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Please, anyone that's listening, please go to joepromotions.com and go check them out. They have an Instagram page. Everything's in the link of this YouTube video. So please go check them out. Thank you so much, Joe Hand Jr. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, really, thank you.
Guys, thanks for having me on, and thanks for your interest in Joe Hand Promotions. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure being on. You guys do a great job. Keep doing it. And hey, look, maybe you come out to the gym and do the podcast from the Joe Hand Gym in the shadow of the Ali Frazier statues one time, okay?
Yeah,
I would
definitely.
greatly appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank you
definitely.
so much, man.
All right, guys. Good
And
night. Thank you.
Give my blessings to your father. Thank you.
I absolutely will.
Have a good night. That was Joe Hand Jr. that we were just talking to. And that was some great conversation, right?
Oh, yeah, that was awesome.
I've been waiting for that.
Yeah.
I was a little nervous, but
a lot of knowledge, man. Like
Yeah.
just being in the business for like 50 plus years, man, and just hearing how the whole system works, how the bars, like, because that's something you all don't think about is when you go to Buffalo Wild Wings or a sports bar and they're showing the fights, you're like, dude, I always thought, not gonna lie, that the bars always paid for the service. Like, they call DirecTV, hey, yo, we want the fights, $50 or whatever, and they're gonna charge a head.
Yeah.
You know? But not knowing the underlining thing below it is that they go to Joe Hand Promotions. Hey, I want to buy the fights for my bar. Sure, you owe us this much, and we'll allow you to show the fights on the bars. I didn't know there was like a middleman before the bars put on the fights, which is incredible, you know?
It's incredible because they make it they make an ability for the restaurants to make a profit off,
Right.
So it's not hurting their pocket significantly.
It enhances more money for them, honestly, because if they pay, I don't know, I'm just throw $600 a night, right, for the fights, right? It brings more traffic into the bars, buying more food, et cetera, et cetera. So they make more money in the long run anyway. So everyone's making money. Joe Hand's making money. They're making money. We're just enjoying our time.
And we benefit off it because a lot of them are not charging no cover fees, which
some bars don't.
Some bars, still
I think it, like for instance, the Conor McGregor fight, everyone was charging a fee to get in there. It was a $10 cover charge.
Oh yeah.
Like I think it's a certain fights. You know what I mean? Like if it's just a UFC fight night or some shit like that, they're not going to charge you a cover fee. Like same for like some UFC pay-per-view fights, they're not. Conor McGregor fights, they do cover charges. You know, like some bars do a cover charge to get money back in the long run. You know what I mean? So it's also amazing to hear that there's a middleman before bars get the fights.
Yeah, it was very interesting to see how they've become so successful.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's hard work, man. Like you put in that hard work, and success will pay off in the long run. And it's just
a grind. It's a long grind. You got to take your bumps and bruises, the long road, walk on, hot, cold, all that, man. You got to just do the time and hard work to get where you want to be. It doesn't like say, oh, I want to be a Twitch streamer. I'm going to be like Nick Merckx tomorrow. No, man. It takes everyone for like years to get that where you want to go. 10 years before you see some treadway. Like it's a process, man, and it's a long time. I understand, like there's times where I'm pretty sure when we wake up we're like, shit, man, are we making it? Are we doing it? Like, are we gonna do this? But yeah, of course we're going to, because we love what we do. And I think that's the biggest thing. If you love what you do, that's where you see your success. It just takes a long time.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people that were tuning in today, they weren't aware of, the stuff they do for, special needs children, and, and they didn't even, they didn't know much about Joe Hand Promotions, but now they do it, and as they should, because they're a great company. They do a lot of successful things.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing, is that they're a good company. They help us all watch the fights that we all love, and they help out the special needs people who need it. And they have a boxing gym. If you guys like to box or want to learn how to box, or if you want to learn how to fight or anything, hit them up. It's a great gym.
I drive by their gym every time I come to the studio, and I'm always like, I need to step in those doors, because the work they've done, and I've seen the progress of them building that gym, on Street Road, and it's awesome. Like how far they've come. It took a while for them to actually get it built, but once they got it built, it looks beautiful with that statue out there. They really put in that hard work, man, and it really truly shows, man.
Yeah, because they've been in business for 50 years, so of course they had hard work, they had hardships, and they was talking about it on air. It's like just a process, it's just a long grind.
So I mean, we have Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury this weekend. Trilogy fight. I'm so pumped.
So excited.
Joe Hand was even pumped. Joe Hand Jr. was pumped as well. You know,
like Johan Jr. He likes Tyson Fury, but he says it's gonna be a longer fight.
I'm still going with Tyson Fury.
In the sixth
round?
I'm still. Are you still doing 6-round KO?
I'm doing a KO. I think he'll finish this
so?
with a stamp, bro. I think he will finish this. You don't think that? You think this is going to the decision?
I didn't say that. I don't
What
think
is your
6th round.
thought?
I think it's going to go to maybe 10th or 11th. I think Fury is going to bang out Wilder. I think it's going to be a knockout in the 10th, closer to 11th round.
See,
because Wilder's ready. There's no shot. Wilder got a beaten last fight. He's like, that ain't going to happen again. And like Johan Jr. said, he's going to stand a little bit taller and get more ready for Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think it's going to be a longer fight. I don't see it ending in the 5th or 6th round, like you're saying. I think it's going to be a longer fight.
I'm just hoping he puts an early stamp on that fight and really shows how far Tyson Fury has come with all his issues, with his mental status in the past year or two, and overcoming depression and everything. I think he really deserves to put this fight behind him. And it's a real shame because, with what happened to Anthony Joshua, it's like,
yeah, he lost to a bum again.
And he was supposed to be who is next. The winner of Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. They were all looking forward to the Anthony Joshua fight.
That's the thing with the Anthony Joshua, though. Like I'll reiterate what I said last show on Sunday. Is Anthony Joshua keep losing the warm-up fights? He lost to Ruiz. He lost to Eunuch. He, for some reason, I don't know if it's a mental thing or what. When they always say if Anthony Joshua wins, he's fighting for this title or he's going to do this title, he's going to do that. Every time they do that, he overlooks his opponent in front of him and he loses bad. He gets knocked out twice. He lost to Eunuch and he lost to Ruiz. Now, where you at now, Joshua?
Yeah,
he's gonna have to. If just say Tyson Fury wins and he beats Wilder, I would say would fight Fury. I mean, Joshua. Sorry,
yeah.
Joshua will fight Wilder if Wilder loses to Tyson Fury because Wilder would have back-to-back losses. Joshua lost his titles to Eunuch, so them two would fight.
Well, what happens to Alexander Usyk? The guy that beat,
Eunuch.
yeah.
I was calling. Was it Usyk?
Usyk.
Sorry, I've been saying Eunuch. It's Usyk. It's Usyk.
I don't even know that. I wouldn't concrete it. Some of those names are really hard, man. Let's be real.
So Usyk would fight
Tyson.
I would think because if Usyk won against Joshua,
it's time to unify.
Right, that's what I would think. Right, so Usyk would fight Fury, Wilder would fight Joshua. Yes. Because I don't see any other middle parts where Fury would fight someone else. Because he did call out a lot of fighters. I just don't remember off the top of my head on
does that
Fury fight.
So if Tyson Fury beats Deontay, does that cement him as the greatest?
No,
the greatest. You can't overshadow any of the the other heavyweights back in the day. But currently, does it cement him as the greatest heavyweight of this current time?
I don't think so. I think he has to fight a few more times before you get called that. There has to be.
I mean,
I just don't see him being. See, I think he would have to fight Usyk to unify the belts, hold it for some point in time, win 2 more fights, have 2 title defenses, and then possibly we can have that conversation. I don't think you can put Fury in that category. I can't. I don't even think you can put Wilder. Even if Wilder wins, guess what? We're gonna have a 4th fight.
I think
because
so.
The one would be a draw.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury battered him, knocked him out. Then Wilder, if he beats Fury convincingly, knocks him out, we're gonna see Tyson Fury versus Wilder 4. There's no shot. I think you have to guarantee that Fury beats Wilder, beats Usyk, unified the titles. And then he has to have 2 title defenses to cement himself in that place. That's the only way.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking as well. But it's hard to, it's hard to say that, he's not the greatest when who's left. If he unifies the belt with Usyk, who's left?
Well, I think same thing can be said about Wilder. If Wilder wins, right? We'll just say he wins, right? And he beats Tyson again. Then he beats Eunuch. He beats Joshua, and he beats someone else. Would you then consider Wilder to be in that place?
I don't know, man, because like that for the first fight was a draw, so there was no conclusion. So yeah, there probably would be a fourth fight. I mean, we're gonna have to find out this Saturday, live from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury, number 3. We'll see who wins. We'll be live here on Sunday morning, 10 a.m. for our reactions to that pay-per-view. We also have UFC this weekend.
Yeah.
Thank God they're not running against them. They are on earlier in the day.
Yeah, they'll get smoked.
Main card starts at 4 p.m. And, thank God they're not running up against that pay-per-view, or they would be in some serious issues.
I think the UFC is smart about their scheduling. Like, they don't want to go against certain fights.
No, that's bullcrap. They're going up against Canelo Alvarez versus Cal Plant.
Yeah, that's true.
That's November 6th.
Yeah, November 6th.
So their Madison Square Garden card, which is stacked. And
I think that's why they did it. They stacked the shit out of it so they can go against Canelo.
Yeah.
But I think, isn't Canelo earlier? There's not the same time. There's no shot that's the same time.
I'm not sure if it's in America or, I mean, I think it is in America. So they would probably, I don't know, because UFC does it on ESPN Plus. They do their pay-per-views on ESPN Plus, where, boxing does their pay-per-views on pay-per-view still, So,
yeah, I don't know. There's no way UFC is going to go against Canelo. I don't see it.
We'll find out. I mean, and there's also breaking news. Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira, December 11th. That is 3 title fights.
Yeah.
3 title. That is an early Christmas present for me. Wrap that shit up. Put it under the tree. I will take that.
Who you got on that fight?
I think it's Dustin Poirier's night, but you can't take you can't sleep on Charles Oliveira. He didn't get to this position on nothing. He didn't get to this position for nothing. So, yeah, it's been confirmed. It's a confirmed fight. There is now 3 title fights. There's Brandon Morano versus Davison Figueiredo. That's I think that's they're running that back, and then they have Amanda Nunes.
Yep,
she's
up.
So I don't know what kind of order, because I mean Amanda Nunes was the main event, but
no, I don't think they're gonna put her main event. I think she might be co.
No, they ain't going over that lightweight.
No, I think Morano's gonna be 3rd. Nunez co. Poirier versus Charles main event. I can see that being main event, because I don't think Morano, no offense to him, I think he's a great fighter, but I don't think he's gonna be main event co or main. I think it's gonna be Nunez will be 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, so we're excited. The fights are heating up, man, and this has been real. Please follow Johan Promotions. Their links are in our description. Johan's promotion, JohanPromotions.com, Johan Promotions on Instagram. They're all over. Please follow them. They do great things. I appreciate them having on the show.
Yep.
For Chris,
for
Vinny Quinn, the producer, for Dan Servini. I'm getting close. I'm getting closer. For him getting us the guest, I appreciate everybody. Follow Devereaux Sports.
Can't say that. So, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all the socials, man. We're on there.
Yes, follow us. For me, Chris, have a good night.
Have a good night.